بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah, we begin our lesson in the Hikam of Al-Imam Ibn Atta'illah Skandari by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us any these opportunities and in the last 10 nights of the month of Ramadan. And we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us in this blessed days and give us the ability and strength, tawfiq and hidayah, that we are able to perform the obligations and likewise to emulate our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so that we attain the benefits of the month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive our sins and answer our prayers and protect us from all difficulties, trials and tribulations. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. So as a continuation of our series of class of Hikam Ibn Atta'illah Skandari, we have come into this particular wisdom where he mentioned tashawufuka ila ma batana fika min al-uyub khayrun min tashawufika ila ma hujiba anka min al-ghuyub. So for those who have been following our lessons in Hikam, there is something I need to take note, that we have entered into a new phase of the wisdoms of Sheikh Ibn Atta'illah Skandari. Before this, we were speaking on the etiquettes in the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you find the author speaks about what are the ways and what are the etiquettes for a seeker to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to equip himself when he is in his path to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And now we have entered into a new phase, and the phase that we have entered is the phase that is called at-takhliya wa tahliya. So this is one of the chapters within the chapters of Islamic and spirituality, where this aspect of Islam taught us about how to purify ourselves. So it is a principle that is called at-takhliya wa tahliya. Maybe I take some time to explain what is the meaning of this concept. So we have the word at-takhliya. At-takhliya with kha, takhliya. It comes from the Arabic word khalla. Khalla yukhillu takhliyatan. The meaning of khalla is to make something khala. Khala in the Arabic language can mean an emptiness. Can mean emptiness. So you make something empty. So basically it is to remove impurities. To remove impurities. So after you have removed impurities, then comes the process of tahliya. So tahliya, it is basically to beautify or to insert. So the process of removing and inserting, literally it is translated like this: removing and inserting. So we call it at-takhliya wa tahliya. So when it is applied to Islamic and spirituality, this concept it means that before you enter into the process of tahliya, of bringing in good attributes within Islam, the first thing is to remove any impurities from ourselves. This is the meaning of at-takhliya. So it is this concept that Sheikh Ibn Atta'illah Skandari has entered into this particular phase. So after he spoke about all the etiquettes in the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the importance of this path, the difference between those who have reached the destination and those who are still striving in this path, and the importance of having this realization that all of us we are travelers to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he began to speak about how are we able to get benefit from this knowledge. So the first thing he said that it is important that we look at the shortcomings that we possess. This is where he begins this particular wisdom by saying tashawufuka ila ma batana fika min al-uyub. Yani the word in tashawuf, it comes from the word shaf. The word in shafa, yani meaning to look into, to scrutinize. So tashawufuka, yani your scrutiny, ila ma batana fika, your scrutiny and your investigation and your lookout. That's what this translation is saying. For the vices hidden within you is better than your being on the lookout for the invisible realities veiled from you. So the first part of this wisdom, and it speaks about to look out for the impurities or for the internal sins and vices and shortcomings that we possess within ourselves. So this is very, very important, because this knowledge of tazkiyah, it focuses on the impurities and how are we able to remove those impurities. Some of you might be asking what is an example of an impurity which is batin, which is internal. So an example will be jealousy. Jealousy is what you call it, one of the impurities from the impurities of the heart. Likewise, we have hatred, ostentation and riya. We have, for example, arrogance, takabur, and we have showing off, not having sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, displeased with the ordainment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all these are sickness of the heart, impurities of the heart. So we find there are many terms that were expressed even in the English language, and you find certain books speaks about impurities, certain books speaks about the sins of the heart. For example, in Risala Jami'ah, Al-Imam Ahmad bin Zayn al-Habshi, for example, he speaks about impurities, or he speaks about the sins of the heart. So we have any sins that are committed by the body parts, and we have the sins that is committed by the heart. And the sins that are committed by the heart is far much worse than the sins committed by the body parts. So it is an obligation, as what Al-Imam Ghazali mentioned in Ihya Ulumuddin, in many parts of his Ihya, that it is fardu ain upon every Muslim to have this knowledge, and the knowledge that a person he must be aware about his spiritual state, and a person he must be aware about the impurities that he has within himself. So the concept is like, if a sick person, he has to know that he is sick, then only he can look for the doctor and the medicine. But if a person does not know that he is sick, and he thought that he is healthy, then the sickness can be severe, that can lead to his destruction. So in this regard, also there is spiritual sicknesses, just like how we have physical illnesses, and spiritual illnesses is worse than physical illness, because physical illnesses you can spot them, you can see. If a person is having any sickness on his body parts, on his hands or legs, if it is something that can be observed, then it is easy to find the cure. Then we have the sicknesses that is inside his body, inside his liver, inside his kidney. This is a bit more difficult because it cannot be spotted. But when it comes to spiritual disease, it is likewise that we have to acknowledge, and we have to spot the diseases before we find the medicine, or before we find the cure, or the person who can help us to remove those impurities. So the first part of this process of purification, it is identification of those impurities. So this is where the author Al-Imam Ibn Atta al-Iskandari first begin. So he is telling us that it is very, very important, and it is wajib upon all of us to look at ourselves and to ponder upon ourselves, and to find out what are the shortcomings that we have, and the impurities that we possess. So this is what he mentioned, tashawufuka ila ma batana fika min al-uyub. your scrutiny on the impurities of your internal self. Ma batana fika min al-uyub. Yani batana is the opposite of zahara. Batana yani is something yani that is hidden. Min al-uyub, yani uyub yani is basically shortcomings. We can say it is impurities. So to look any at this aspect of finding out about those impurities any that we possess, it is better any than we scrutinize and we look for towards any something that is invisible any from us, that we cannot witness any with our eyes and with our senses, from amongst the miracles any that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless His servants, and likewise the decree any of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I will go any into that inshallah after this. There is any something any that I want any speak about any before any we go to the second part and speak any about what any he actually meant when he spoke any about these invisible any realities any and so on. It is any important any for us any to understand the definition any of tasawwuf. So for example any if you look any at the definition any of tasawwuf, any the definition any of tasawwuf any basically it speaks any about any knowledge that by it we are able any to understand the ways of purifying any our heart. This is any basically the definition any of Islamic any spirituality. So the knowledge any of tasawwuf, or we say the knowledge any of tazkiyah, it is this any process where we are able any to purify any ourselves, to purify any our hearts. So the purification any of the heart any is the main any subject any in tasawwuf. So when any we speak any about Islamic any spirituality, we have always any have to be focused on purification any of the heart, and our focus any should not be other than purification any of the heart. Yani for example any there are people any who thought that tasawwuf any is about possessing miracles, that the purpose any of tasawwuf is that we are able any to have certain type any of miracles, and we should work for towards any then station where we are able any to attain any those miracles, then only any we have reached any Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is any a mistake, and Shaykh ibn Ata al-Iskandari is pointing out any towards any this mistake, as though any he is telling us, do not make any your purpose any in this path, and your purpose of what any you perceive as purification is to attain the miracles, but you neglect the main purpose any that is to find the impurities and how you are able to purify yourself any from those impurities, and to perform tahliyah, that is to equip any yourself any with the noble any characteristics any of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is any the point any of slippage that occurs any to some people when they do not have a proper any guidance and a proper understanding any of this particular any subject. Al-Imam al-Ghazali any for example in his Ihya any Ulumuddin, he mentioned any about the danger yani of those who are in the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and what is the trick any of the devil towards any the people any who busy themselves any with remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and acts any of obedience. So he mentioned yani that the one of the worst tricks any of the devil is that he incur any his whisperings and his waswas any to you, and give you any the impression that you are somebody. He gives you any the impression that you have reached Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but in reality you have not. He gives you any the impression that you are a person any who is special. So this is what any Al-Imam Ghazali any mentioned, that shaitan yani he uses any this trick by using acts any of obedience as a means any to the downfall any of the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here we have to understand that the devil has many strategy. The strategy of the devil towards a person who is disobedient to Allah is different than a person who is obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when he finds someone who constantly remembers Allah, obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the devil and the shaitan has a different strategy. The main purpose of the devil is to make you astray. This is the main purpose of the devil, so that any human beings can pass away in su'ul khatima. So the strategy towards those who obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has this religious consciousness, is to incur these whisperings and to inform them that they have a station that is close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when a person is deluded into thinking that he is someone, or even deluded into thinking that he is one of the sins of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now this is a situation where he has entered into a dangerous situation where he can lead himself towards destruction. So this is where the author is saying that your sukunity towards the impurities of yourself, from the shortcomings that you possess, and trying your best to remove those shortcomings, to improvising yourself, it is better than your scrutiny ila ma hujiba anka min al-ghuyub. It is better than your scrutiny towards something that is unseen, that you do not know of. So it is better to focus on something that you know than to focus on something that you do not know. So what is the thing that you do not know? The thing that we do not know is pertaining to the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His knowledge. There are people, for example, they obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they are on this path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but their purpose is not Allah. Their purpose is to attain miracles. So you will find these people remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reciting the Quran, doing mujahadatun nafs and so on, but their purpose is not for the sake of Allah. Their purpose is to attain any miracles because of this misunderstanding. So this is one situation. A person might say that his purpose in his ibadah and so on is to become someone who is called a wali, for example, or a person who is respected in the society. So again, this is one of the mistakes that Sheikh ibn Ata al-Iskandari, and likewise commentaries, if you read commentaries of Hikam, like the commentary of Sheikh Ramadan al-Buti, speaks about these instances when people in their quest in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their intention is for other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when a person has this intention to attain praises from the people, or to attain fame in the eyes of the people, so that people call them al-wali fulan bin fulan, so that people call them a sheikh fulan bin fulan, so that they can have pride for themselves by what people see, what they are doing from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is a very dangerous situation where a person does not find the real benefits and the real rewards from Allah in his quest to in this path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So basically this is the meaning of this particular wisdom, that he is emphasizing on how we are able to focus on scrutinizing the shortcomings that we possess, and trying our best to remove that shortcoming, and placing in his place the great characteristics of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now when we go back into the meaning of tahliyah and tahliyah, some any of our scholars and our teachers they give any this example of a cup. They say that the hearts are like the cup. What is the meaning the hearts are like the cup? Imagine if you have coffee in the cup and you want to drink syrup. So you cannot be pouring the syrup into the cup of coffee. If you do so, then you will not be able to taste syrup. So what you have to do is to remove the coffee in the cup, and then you have to wash the cup. So this is the parable of at-takhliyah. Because the meaning of takhliyah is to remove. So once we have removed this in the parable of impurities, then only we place the syrup in the cup. So the syrup in the cup is the parable of at-tahliyah. That is to make nice or to fill in the good and the best properties, so that we are able to taste the sweetness. So this is the first from the very first stages in the knowledge of tasawwuf. How are we able to remove the shortcomings from ourselves? And then comes the process of tahliyah. How are we able to attain the characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ? So that is why it's very important that the purpose of learning tasawwuf is to attain the akhlaq of the Prophet ﷺ. This is one of the main purpose. So how do we get there? Firstly, we have to remove the impurities. So you read the books of tasawwuf, it speaks about how are we able to remove these impurities. So for example, in Risala Jami'ah, in Bidayatul Hidayah, for example, the books of Imam Razali, the books of Imam Al-Haddad, you will find that they emphasize on guarding of the body parts, because they say, for example, that the body parts is like the branches to the heart. That if you are unable to guard your body parts, you will not be able to guard your heart. So first thing is we have to prevent our body parts from committing sin, because committing any sins will make our hearts full of impurities. So the first step is to abstain. The first step to abstain. Just like in medicine, doctors used to say, prevention is better than cure. So the first thing is that how are we able to guard our senses? So for example, how are we able to guard our eyes from looking at the things that is prohibited? How are we able to guard our ears from listening to things that are prohibited? How are we able to guard our tongue from committing or from speaking any things that are prohibited? How are we able to protect our stomach and the rest of the body parts? So all this has connections to the heart. So once we have the preventive factor, then we can purify our hearts by engaging in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, performing any prayers with concentration, with sincerity. It is a process of purification of the heart. Likewise, any fasting, whether in the month of Ramadan or outside of the month of Ramadan, recitation of the Quran, remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our daily invocation, performing of the sunnahs, and emulating the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to our best. So all this is a process of purification of the heart. So we have the preventive factor, so that we can abstain. We can abstain from sins. And then we have the process of purifying. And always this scrutiny, as what Shaykh Ibn Ta'ala is saying. Tashawufuka ila ma batana fika. So as a believer, we have always to be on the lookout. On the lookout for ourselves and the shortcomings that we possess. If we find that we have certain shortcomings, then we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for tawfiq, that we are able to purify ourselves from these sicknesses. And all of us we have our shortcomings, Nobody is perfect. So the process of this knowledge of Islamic spirituality, it is a process on how we are constantly looking out for the shortcomings of ourselves, and then busying ourselves and thinking of ways and strategies on how we can always be in the process of abstention from committing sins, and also how are we able to equip ourselves with the characteristics and the purification by engaging in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and refraining from the prohibitions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So at the end of the day, what is important for us to understand, the important is that it is an important and one of the main purpose of this knowledge of tazkiyah. It is not about how many miracles that we have, because miracles can be a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what is important is that how are we able to purify our hearts? How are we able to attain the characteristics of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? This should be our purpose when we are in this path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in the path of purification. So here again Sheikh bin Atta al-Iskandari is telling us the danger that when you are on this path, this is a thing that you have to look out. So as though Sheikh bin Atta al-Iskandari is saying, this is the point where shaitan will try to delude you, so you have to be careful. So do not be deluded by shaitan, and do not be deluded by yourself. Deluded by ourselves thinking that we have reached the level of sainthood, for example. So this is one of the waswas of shaitan. And shaitan will tell us that you are like an angel, that you are Fulan bin Fulan, that you have reached this status, that people are looking at you now and people are praising you. So sometimes we can be the subject of the praises of people. So then we have to be careful, so that we do not entangle with their praises, because in reality we might not reach what they assume. Many a times people praise us for something that we do not possess, but because people thought and people perceive and people have husnul dhan towards what they see from the outside. But in reality we understand. In reality Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. So this is the point where Sheikh bin Atta al-Iskandari is saying that you know the reality of yourself. So do not be deluded about what you are seeing from the outside, but you should busy yourself from the realities of yourself. And when you understand that you have a lot of shortcomings, then the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is how are you able to busy yourself with this purification and this tazkiyah, and to be careful from the whispers of shaitan and the praises of human beings, because these are the things, if we are not careful, we can fall into these traps of the devil. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with tawfiq and hidayah, and we pray that in this month of Ramadan, and the importance of the month of Ramadan and the month of tazkiyah, that this is the month where Allah make it easy upon us to reflect upon these meanings, and to put it into practice as we are fasting in the day, and we have the opportunities for us to perform our Qiyamul Layl, and we find in the month of Ramadan it is easier for us to recite the Quran, to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are the days which Allah bless us with these opportunities. So we have to take these opportunities seriously, so that inshallah ta'ala it will be provisions for us until after the month of Ramadan. And we hope that all these meanings it stays in our minds and our soul, so that we are constantly alert about the spiritual state of ourselves, and how we go about in purifying ourselves, because in reality this is an ongoing process all the way until we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We pray that Allah make it easy upon us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who remember Him, among those who are close to Him, among those who are loved by Him, and may Allah bless us with husnul khatimah, and guide us, our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rabbana taqabbal du'ana innaka antas samiul alim, wa tub alayna innaka antat tawwabur rahim, wa akhtim bis salihati a'malana wa ajirna ya Allah kareem. بفضل سبحان ربك بالعزة عما يصفون. سلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.